Welcome to Your Health in 15 Minutes. We're your hosts, Dr. Monique Wallace and Dr. Angela Stewart from Fayetteville State University School of Nursing. We're so glad you're joining us today for an important and meaningful conversation. This episode focuses on mental health, emotional well-being, stress management, and the ongoing work of reducing stigma in our communities. These are topics that impact all of us, and our goal today is to offer insight, support, and practical strategies you can carry into your daily life. We're honored to be joined by our guest, Ms. Dionne Hall, the director of the Counseling and Personal Development Center here on campus. She brings a wealth of expertise and a compassionate perspective that will truly enrich today's discussion. Ms. Hall, we'd love for you to take a moment to introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. My name is Dionne Hall, and I am a licensed clinical mental health counselor supervisor. I've been in the field for 25 plus years, serving the campus community for about 10 years, and I also did community mental health. So I've had the opportunity to not only work on a campus setting, but also be able to work in a community. So I have an opportunity to bring both perspectives here to the campus of our students.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So let's go ahead and get started,
Okay.
From your clinical experience, what emotional or mental health concerns do you see most frequently, and how do these differ from what's commonly discussed in a broader mental health space?
Okay, so what we see at the counseling center here is we see an array of issues and concerns. We have students that come in starting maybe with some adjustment, kind of this is their first time away from home, and so they don't know how to adjust from that life to now being on campus, all the way to students who might be experiencing more severe conditions like schizophrenia or some suicidal ideation. So we see the gamut from adjustment, anxiety, depression, all the way to some psychosis, psychotic disorders, and some students who might be experiencing suicide ideations. But what we see commonly is kind of similar to what's happening across the university settings, mostly mostly anxiety, depression, and adjustment concerns. And so what we see on a college campus is sometimes it's kind of confounded because there's not only just one issue, our students are also experiencing concerns with their academics, family, financial distress. So you have to kind of decompress all that to kind of see how can I help the student and meet them where they are.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yes.
So next question, what strategies have you found most effective for helping students manage stress related to academics, financial pressures, and societal expectations?
So what we like to use at the campus, at the counseling center, is we like to use some skills-based counseling center techniques with our students, looking at cognitive behavioral therapy. We'll look at some problem-solving techniques, and so we also look at emotional regulation. So we try to, make it as individualized. So depending on what the student comes in with, we will utilize some techniques from all those different categories to help make sure that we are addressing their needs and meeting their goals.
So this next question kind of piggybacks off of what you just said by individualizing and giving them some strategies. What can students incorporate into their daily routines for emotional well-being and stress management so they're not feeling so overwhelmed or viewing self-care as like one more thing they have to do?
Right. And I love what we do with our students. So in the counseling sessions, we are actually teaching them these skills and practicing skills in sessions so that when they go back to their rooms, it's something that it's not something else they have to do, but they can incorporate it in their everyday life. So they're walking from their dorms to their classes, right? So we can put, while you're walking from your dorm to classes, mindfulness. What is mindfulness? Being present where you are, the here and now. So you can focus on your breathing, what you're sensing, your five senses. What do you see? What do you smell? What do you taste? What do you feel? And that they're walking to class. And so it's not something they're doing differently or extra. And so incorporating some of these skill sets in their everyday life helps it make it feel more natural and not, oh my gosh, I have something else to do. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Make sense?
100%.
Yes.
That's great information because I think at the School of Nursing, we tell them you need to incorporate self-care, along with everything you're doing. So that's good feedback on something else we can tell them as well.
Right, and so self-care, sometimes people think it might just be, getting my nails done, getting my hair done, and that can be part of self-care, but self-care could also be connected with friends, right? Doing some breathing techniques. And so how do we frame self-care? It might be, if they're on their phones, having like Sudoku Sudoku. I like Sudoku. But whatever, game that is kind of help me kind of decompress, and it's not anything else that I have to add on. It's just something I'm already doing as self-care.
Yeah. Great, great, great. So let's switch gears a little bit
Okay.
and let's talk about a population that we really don't hear that much about.
Okay.
So our young men. So what are some barriers young men face regarding their mental health, and what strategies can we use to address these barriers, our young men?
Yes. So we do see that, our young men still have that stigma that I have to man up, right? That men don't cry. And so that stigma is still out there, even though it is reducing. So we are seeing more young men come into our counseling center. We create an atmosphere where they know that it's confidential. They can trust what's happening, that it does not go, like for example, for our athletes, we tell them, if you come see us, we do not share the information with your coaches. So it stays between us. So we establish that trust that they can be vulnerable with us and in a safe environment. And so some of the things that we did with some of our students, our male students in particular, is having some male mentors come in and do some of the presentations with us, right? And so, focusing on performance-based strategies or skills versus maybe talk therapy. So looking at, okay, what are some strengths of males, and then incorporating that into the counseling sessions to make them feel a little bit more comfortable in sharing what they do. So skill focusing, like performance, resilience, stress optimization, we kind of talk about those things with some of our male students. Also having programming specifically for them on campus. It's open to everybody, but we kind of want to focus on our young men. So we have it geared to, we had like, are you good, bro? Things of that nature. Or we talked about stress, but we had the flyer theme with like football and things of that nature, so they can see, okay, it does match me, it does fit me. I do belong. I can come talk about my emotions and my feelings. So that's kind of what we do to try to bring our young men in.
Oh, that's so important.
Very important. And I think stigma about seeking care for mental health, there's a big stigma about seeking care for mental health in general. Right. A lot of people don't want to do it for various reasons. They don't want to go in person. So what are the most misconceptions you've encountered when it comes to stigma, mental health, seeking care, and how can faculty, staff, or peers actively help reduce that stigma that's out there?
Right. So one thing I would like to say about our students here, they do want to come on campus face to face. And so because we offer face to face as well as telehealth for students who are in the state of North Carolina. Because of our licensure, they have to be in the state of North Carolina if we do telehealth therapy with them. And so what we're finding is our students were wanting to come in and have face-to-face appointments. So I think that's a good sign that we're doing something over at the counseling center for them to want to come face-to-face with us. But some of the things that we hear reducing stigma, especially where we are and what we've been taught, is we just pray about things. Just pray, right? Everything will be okay. Or we keep our business to ourselves. Those are some of the kind of things that we kind of hear sometimes. Or my family, they don't believe in counseling, and so that can that family influence sometimes can stop students from coming to seek the help that they need. Some other things that we hear that strong students don't need help, or will this be on my academic record, academic concerns. So those are some kind of things that kind of might block students from coming in. But once we share with them that everything is confidential and it stays with us, unless we have to put our safety hat on, and we can talk about that later. But as long as we have our counseling hat on, what you share here is safe, and we have a welcoming environment for you. So those are some of the misconceptions we have. And again, the stigma is breaking down. We are breaking down the barriers. The more that we have programming here on campus, where we have tabling events, or we come to do presentations in our campus classrooms, when they invite us in to talk to their classes, we're breaking down the barriers. And so we also have peer mentors that kind of talk to the students, their peers, about mental health and how they can seek help and things of that nature. How our faculty members can help us is by sharing the same information, sharing that this is a place where you can get confidential treatment, that they care about you. And so reinforcing some of the values that we have in the counseling center, if the faculty members can kind of say the same things that we're saying, and saying that can help faculty members because you all are the first line. You see the students more often than we do, right? You recognize when something is happening with the students. And so being able to say, okay, knowing what resources we have on campus, saying the same things that we say, that it's confidential, that it's a welcoming environment, and then sometimes going that next step and just sometimes bringing the student with you or making that phone call saying, you know, Ms. Hall, we have a student in my office or in my class I'm concerned about, and making that connection to the counseling center. That's how our faculty members can help us reach our students.
Is there something you can submit anonymously online to, like a
Yes,
link?
we do. So we do have an anonymous referral that faculty members can complete if they do not feel comfortable disclosing themselves about the student, but they can fill out that form. And what I love about my staff members is when we get that form and it is anonymous, we will call a student and say, hi, this is Ms. Hall from the Counseling Center. Someone who cares about you put in a referral. And so I'm just calling to check in and see how you're doing. Well, who did it? I'm not sure, but I just know it's someone who cares. And so I'm just calling to just check in on this referral. And sometimes they'll say, well, Ms. Hall, I don't need counseling. That's okay. And I say, you know, you don't have to have counseling, but again, I'm just calling to check in on you, see what's going on. And usually by that time, they kind of, they break down their guard, they kind of drop their guard a little bit. Well, you know, I have been this, that, and the other. I'm like, okay, well, you know, I understand that you're not interested in counseling at this time, but can I call you back maybe one more time to check in? And usually they'll say, yes, ma'am, you can call me back. And I'll just do one more check-in. And then I kind of open that door up. I'm like, well, you know, if you're ever interested in talking to a counselor, and if you would like to, just give my contact information. What I love about our space is we also have relaxation rooms. So I said, well, you know what? Why don't you come check out our relaxation room? You don't have to have counseling in order to utilize this space. It was made and designed just for you. And so that's another way that we can kind of connect with the student to bring them in, even if they're not ready for counseling services. And so I guess I need to let the faculty members know about that resource, because that's another way that they can share with their students. You know, if you're distressed or you can need to kind of reset, decompress, the Counseling Center has a relaxation room that you can use. You don't have to get therapy. You can just go and use the room and reset and come back and do what you need to do. So.
Yes, we saw the grand opening of that beautiful facility. That was very well done.
Thank you so
very
much.
Very impactful.
Thank you so much.
Right.
We were intentional with the design to make sure that we can meet the needs of all of our students.
Yes, wonderful.
Thank you.
So you spoke a little bit about families and students being concerned that, you know, my family doesn't believe in counseling or we don't do that. So with that, what role does historical and intergenerational experiences play in shaping how our students view mental health and therapy? And how do you address this in your clinical work?
So we position ourselves as, again, skill building. So if we're telling you, you know, we are building skills to help you be able to go through life with skills needed to deal with any kind of situations. And so we kind of help try to empower them, saying, you know, you're not betraying your family for coming to the Counseling Center. And we kind of help process that with them. So if they're having, some of those issue concerns, we'll talk about it. Say, well, let's talk about it. You know, how is your family's cultural beliefs or your beliefs how it impacting you from able to come talk to us? And so I think just having that conversation, start opening at the door to see, okay, and then you can kind of identify, okay, this is how I need to address this to help them feel a little bit more comfortable with counseling. There's sometimes mistrust with the system, especially if they've had counseling before. Some students have come with previous counseling experience and it wasn't a positive experience for them. And so then again, meeting them where they are, seeing, okay, what areas that maybe kind of impacted you that you no longer trust the counseling process, and let me show you another way, right? You know, will you give me an opportunity for us to work together, because we're working together as a team to kind of help kind of, you know, repair that mistrust. And so if you need to look at, you know, the historical traumas that we've kind of experienced, right, that does play a part in depending on who they, you know, who they see. And so we're fortunate here that students can get counseling services by people that look like them. And so I think that can be an important factor when we're looking at historical and intergenerational experiences as well.
100%. How can the university leverage their sense of community, cultural pride, and institutional mission to create environments that normalize mental health care and emotional vulnerability?
Well, I think one thing, as you can see with the Chancellor's leadership and investment in the new renovations of the Spalding building, that it comes from the top down, that we see it as a strategic goal, a strategic vision of the university, that we address our students' mental health and emotional well-being and their wellness needs. And so identifying, affirming wellness programming all across campus. I don't know if hopefully everyone knows by now, but we are a JED campus. And so what JED campus does is help us promote that it's not just one area that focuses on emotional well-being and mental health and wellness on the campus, but it's the whole campus's responsibility to support our students' emotional well-being. And so with our JED campus, we have faculty members, staff members from all parts of the campus, which is administration, faculty, staff, working together to look at how can we make our university more open to the students, supporting our students' well-being from every aspect. And so I think if we have that, we utilize that. We have our peer ambassador initiative. So I know we have the Bronco Wellness ambassadors with Bronco Health and Wellness, but with the Counseling Center, we have peer allies that support students in collegiate recovery. So students who are either reducing their use or abstaining from drugs or alcohol, we have peer allies to support them in that. We also have student leaders in the Counseling Center who help us with our mental health tabling. And so we can be strategic in having students and the whole community working together. I know I worked with the nursing program, I think last year, in one of their university classes. Their project was all about mental health and well-being, and so that was Dr. Hodges.
Yes.
And so at the end of her semester, they had like a
Health
fair, and talked about the different things that the students can experience, stress, depression, and how to resolve that, but it came from the student perspective. And so I think if we all work together to support our students' emotional well-being, that's how we leverage our community to normalize care.
Thank you.
Well, that's our time. Believe it or not, 15 minutes goes by really fast.
Wow.
But we've covered some very, very important concepts, therapy, intergenerational and historical perspectives, the male aspect of therapy and seeking counseling, counselors that look like us, and the beautiful, beautiful facility that just opened this week. So we invite our students, our faculty, our staff to be open to taking care of their mental health and well-being.
Do I have one more moment?
Yes.
You do.
Okay, so two more things. So we have on campus, we have trainings, QPR, which is Question, Persuade, Refer, suicide prevention training, as well as mental health first aid. Both of these trainings are available to students, faculty, and staff members to help us to identify and recognize students who are in distress, and then also how to connect them to the resources that we have either on campus and or off campus. So I encourage all of us, again, how do we support each other? Yes. Take these classes, take these trainings so we can better support each other in our journey of emotional well-being and wellness.
Where can we find
That
information about how to take those courses?
So some of that information will be through HR, Human Resources, sometimes sends out things on the website, but we will try to have, starting probably next year academic calendar, have a schedule that we can send out to everyone on a consistent basis.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you.
And that's it. That's what we have for Your Health in 15 Minutes. Until next time, goodbye.